Welcome back, everyone. Thanks so much for joining me. Today I have Ronnie Landis.
Hey, brother.
Give it up, Ronnie. So good.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming. And, you know, in this raw world, in this raw journey I'm in, there's so many different people out there that have different ways of eating, and I get to learn from all of them. And Ronnie has taught me so much about chocolate and other superfoods, and a lot of the medicinal properties of foods that I never knew. And so I'm really honored to have you here. And Ronnie, what are we making today?
Okay, well, again, I'm really grateful to be here and to share what I'm really passionate about, which is A1, raw food. And I know we both have that mutual interest in detoxification and essentially reprogramming our genetic hard drive, right?
Yes.
And I'm really passionate about that. And the next phase to me is, how do we reprogram that? You know, how do we reformat the floppy disk, the biological floppy disk? Mm-hmm. And one of the big areas of my work is really, how do we prevent and, in a lot of cases, reverse all the degenerative issues in the world? So, cardiovascular issues, dysbiosis, intestinal issues that people are dealing with, and neurological issues. Yeah. To me, these are the main things that people in society are dealing with, and my interest is activating genius, which is how do we activate our genes, our genetics. So that's what this is really speaking to. This is really something that we can cultivate using the brilliance of tonic herbalism, different herbal systems in this world. In this case, we're going to derive some of the Chinese wisdom and using different superfoods and kind of like raw food principles as well. So we can get the best of all worlds.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. So do you have a name for this tonic? Or is this a tonic we're making?
This is going to be a tonic.
Okay. And
a tonic is a type of herbalism that we can do every single day. So on top of our raw food, or whatever diet that we're into, this is something that everybody can add into their lifestyle.
Yes.
And so this is basically like the Reishi Cappuccino.
Nice.
So this can replace the old Starbucks kind of like high fructose corn syrup idea.
Yes.
And use natural sweeteners, natural herbs, and use cacao to get that little oomph.
Yes.
And there you go.
Great.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, let's start the recipe.
All right, let's run through it. So the first thing that we're going to do is something called Gynostemma tea.
Okay.
And this to me is one of the best teas out there. One, it tastes great. It doesn't have that kind of like awkward taste that some of these teas might have if you're just getting into it. And the health benefits are astronomical. And actually, there's so much research behind it because the Japanese and the Chinese Academy of Science actually did intense studies on this one herb. And they found in the southern province of China, actually it had the most concentration of the longest living people in China. So they're like, well, wait, what's going on? What are they doing, right? So they started to identify that all these people did one thing. They all had Gynostemma in their diet.
Nice.
So we now can derive Gynostemma tea and just make that our tea base. So as we're getting into the alchemy, that's what I'm really into, is like fusing all these things into elixir alchemy or elixir crafting. We're just going to do a Gynostemma tea base, and that's what we have in our teapot here.
Great.
Okay, so we're just going to pour that into our Vitamix just like that. And now, word to the wise, you may have just noticed that 2 tea bags dropped in. Yeah. No worries. All we have to do is take that out. So, and I'm just going to dive in there. Do this however you like. If you're making it for someone else, you probably want to have a utensil with you, but we're just kind of like improvising.
Maybe.
Yeah. And this is perfect. So after that, we are going to do 1 tablespoon of lucuma powder. Ooh. And this is really interesting egg fruit, and I really like it because it's an emulsifier. So it basically brings the sugars and the fats in your concoction together. Nice. And that's what creates that cream.
Wow.
Right? So we're going to throw that in there.
See, I didn't even know that. I used lucuma yesterday in a recipe, and I'm learning stuff every day. So it's a great emulsifier between the sugars and the fats It's the bridge.
Yeah, that's kind of the alchemy, is like we're throwing in all these different kind of macro groups, right, of nutrients, but it's not so much, you have to bring them together. They all have to synergize together to really affect us in the body, otherwise it can kind of clump together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
So the next thing we're going to do is our sweetener. And you guys can use whatever you like out there. We're going to use dates, because I know dates are like your favorite food, right? Yeah, so we're going to honor that. And actually, something you might find interesting about dates, I found out that date is in my hormone research. I looked at all these different foods, like we hear about estrogenic foods and phytoestrogens. Dates happen to be some of the good phytoestrogens, dates and pomegranates. So they're actually phytoestrogenic, but they seem to be like very neutral and actually may be beneficial in that way.
Nice.
So you might actually like that bit of information.
Yeah, and like I said yesterday, a key source of iron. So a lot of vegetarians and new vegans, women during their time of the month, they want to go out and have a hamburger or a steak to replenish that iron, was thinking. Now dates are a high source of iron and an awesome sweetener. And these are medjool dates, and some people call them that. I like to call them medjool dates, because I just drool.
Yeah, and I was never really into dates until I hung out with you, and then you hooked me up with those special farmers market dates that you're talking about. I was like, oh man, these are off the hook.
There are dates, and there are dates.
Yeah.
And we know that from dating women, don't we?
And that's a whole another video. So the next thing we're going to throw in is our coconut oil. So speaking of bringing that sugar and fat together, the coconut oil is an amazing, amazing creamer, amazing fat, great for the liver and kind of like circulating out the liver. It's really great for the MCTs, the medium chain triglycerides. That to derive instant energy from. So we can get both the good energy from the sugar and the fat together to stay in balance.
Nice.
We're going to throw that in there.
And I have seen Ronnie Landis, we lived together for a while, and I have seen Ronnie Landis use coconut oil on the exterior of him, with hair and skin and things like that, and has talked extensively about the significance of coconut oil. Yeah,
it really is one of my favorite foods. Speaking of brain and nervous system, the research coming out on Alzheimer's and how the cognitive protective effects it has on the brain. So anyone out there that has a relative that is starting to decline in that area, it's a nervous system problem. Their nervous system is essentially unraveling, so we need to get that fat to soak it back up.
Yes.
So, coconut oil.
Awesome. Great, great.
So the next thing we're going to do is use our raw cacao powder, and it's about a tablespoon of that. You know I'm a huge proponent of cacao and chocolate usage.
Yeah.
Chocolate is a tool, though. It's important for people to know that chocolate, really, in its real alchemical purpose, is not necessarily like this thing that we go to just to like scarf down haphazardly. It's actually a tool. It's a delivery system for herbs.
Nice.
So that's how we're going to use it, because it's what's called a vasodilator, and it dilates our blood capillaries and increases oxygen. And it's actually been labeled as a nootropic. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. Basically, nootropics are cognitive enhancers or brain enhancers. Most of them on the market are actually synthetic, but there are certain foods and herbs that are scientifically classified as brain enhancers, and because the theobromine in cacao is actually, a cognitive enhancer, increases genius.
Awesome.
So that's why I love it.
Great. And so for some of you who are new to this whole raw world, you heard the word cacao and you heard the word chocolate, and they are one and the same. We're used to chocolate with candy bars and the fake chocolate with the fake sugar, but the cacao plant is the original chocolate, and this is what Ronnie is referring to.
Excellent point, yeah. Theobroma cacao. Yeah. And that translates, in the actual scientific translation, the Latin translation is food of the gods. And that's a whole nother thing that I won't even get started on, but check it out.
Nice, nice.
Yeah. Great. So the next thing we're going to do is reishi mushroom. This is by far my favorite herb in the world, and I recommend anyone out there, I get asked a lot, it's like, there's so much stuff, what herb should I do? Reishi. It's universal. Everybody can benefit from it. The Chinese, it's the most well-researched herb in the world. There's no more science backing any herb in historical usage, literally like 4,000 to 5,000 years in Chinese history that's written down, reishi mushroom.
Wow.
And the way it protects our blood, it literally cleans the blood. It's a cardiovascular cleaner in that way. It benefits, it's a liver detoxer, very subtle.
Yeah.
But why I like it, the Chinese called it the herb of spiritual potency because of its shen. It helps spiritual amplification. And then also they called it the great protector. And the reason I think so is because it's the #1 immune supporting herb in the world. It literally actually programs the white blood cells, those leukocytes in our immune system, to work better.
Nice.
So we can adapt to all the stress in our world. It just kind of keeps us buffered against all the stress that we're dealing with. So for your immune system protection and everything else, reishi mushroom is what I recommend.
Wow.
So we're going to throw that in there. And reishi can be a little bit bitter, so just be aware of that. That's why the dates and the lucuma are going to be a welcomed addition to this.
Nice. And lucuma, if you remember yesterday, makes things taste a little caramelly, like caramel.
Yeah.
So who doesn't like caramel?
Yeah, it's like if you're gonna medicate yourself with food and herbs, it better taste good.
Yes.
I mean, that's really what it's about, right? It's like, I could be scarfing down reishi, but I go, oh God, I'm getting better, I'm getting healthier, oh God. But it's like, let me just throw some honey or dates or something. It's got to taste good. Yeah. That's the point.
There's no more of this.
Right.
There's just like, oh my
the NyQuil or whatever it used to be.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Now it's reishi, actually.
Nice.
Instead of replace the NyQuil, you want to get a good night's sleep, take your reishi.
Nice. All right. And I think you've told me before about reishi, because we're in the morning. I don't want to go to sleep now. Right. So reishi is an adaptogenic.
It is adaptogenic.
See, I'm learning here.
There is a logic to what we're doing because the cacao is a subtle stimulant. Okay. So whenever you do a stimulant, you actually want to balance it with an anti-stimulant. Okay. This is herbal wisdom. Nice. And so you wouldn't do chocolate by itself all the time. You would cohese those two. Nice. And so reishi and cacao are going to be really beneficial to each other in that way. Nice. So it's not. So I won't take it. And it's not sedative. It just like relaxes you. Nice. Yeah.
So good. So the word balance comes into my mind when I hear that. So awesome.
Definitely. The next thing we're going to do as a flavor agent, as an energetic kind of like balance, is a vanilla bean. And I can't tell you guys how much I value the ability to have vanilla bean, the powder, because we grew up with the synthetic kind of extract. And although it tastes great, I think there's something energetically just off about it. But the bean, the powder just adds that floral aroma to it. Yeah. And I don't know, I just feel it in the depths of my spirit when I take it. It just really kickstarts everything.
Nice.
So this is really valuable that we have this, and cacao and vanilla synergize. I mean, everyone knows that, right? Yeah. It's just obvious, right? Yeah. Vanilla and cacao have a great synergy together, so we're going to throw that in.
And isn't vanilla, like the true vanilla and the true chocolate or cacao, weren't those like foods reserved for royalty or special people, and now we get to just walk in a store now, and this is becoming a normal thing to be royal, and we are all kings and queens, I tell you guys.
It's literally food reserved for the noblemen and the noblewomen.
Yeah.
And that is exactly what this is, and thank you for bringing that point up, is like, cacao was reserved for royalty. King Montezuma from the Aztec civilization literally controlled the entire chain of chocolate or cacao transportation, and nobody could touch it except him and his royal palace until they started trading cacao as a monetary exchange. Yes. In Europe, they reserved it when it came over. Yeah. The chocolate drinks like this, the commoners, they couldn't get their hands on it. In fact, they didn't even know what it was until there was this mass breakout, and then from there, it's like they couldn't hold it, they couldn't reserve it. Nice. But yeah, for a long time, it was something of nobility. Nice. And now we're all coming to the fact that we're all noble. Yeah. It's just
a new paradigm, baby.
Yeah. So the last thing we're going to throw in is just a little dash of sea salt, just to amplify the flavor profile.
Yeah, and I got to learn that, I got to learn this actually from Elena Love, who's a very good chef in the raw world, and she told me that salt makes things sweeter.
Yes.
And I was like, salt? I thought salt makes things saltier, and it does, but it also enhances the sweetness of desserts, and this is why salt is used so much. And this is also sea salt, not the fake iodized salt, table fast food salt. No, this is the real deal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
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 So we're ready to blend it up, I guess.
All right.
Okay, so make sure, by the way, that you have your lid on tight. I was in Texas at a detox retreat I was speaking at, and we're in the kitchen blending up this most outrageous drink. I mean, we were in it for 10 minutes doing this, that, and the other, and I got so excited I flipped it on, and it was boom all over the wall. Okay. And it's just proper blender etiquette. You know, keep this down before you use it. Put this up, you know, and then count down 3, 2, 1 and blast off.
Okay, awesome.
All right. So 3, 2, 1. We're gonna go slow.
Yeah. Yeehaw. I can't wait to have this! Yes!
Amazing. And just a little fun fact out there. There was a civilization that actually invented the blender. It was the Mexican civilization. And it was a molinillo to make chocolate drinks.
Nice.
And they would just spin the little top right there and drop it into a cup full of chocolate, and then that's how they spun it up.
Nice.
So chocolate is actually the initiator of what we know now as the whatever Bentley or McLaren of blenders now is, you know, Vitamix.
Nice.
It's amazing.
So good.
So this is frothy. I'm really excited about this one.
Oh my god, looks so good.
Okay. Oh god.
Medicine.
Okay, I'm gonna take a quick sip just to make sure that everything is kosher.
You know it is. You know it's awesome. It's like, how could you go wrong with what he just put in? Yes.
It's good. It's not too sweet, but it's well-rounded.
Yes.
Mmm.
Oh boy. Hold on 1 second, everybody.
Had to do it. Yeah.
Okay, one more thing.
Yeah, with the dates and the lucuma, the vanilla, it balances the bitterness of the reishi.
So good.
Yeah.
Oh, so good. I love this. This is awesome. Thank you so much. And so speaking of chocolate, what is this thing here?
This is, I'm glad you asked, this is the Genius Bar. This is my company, Cardiozoic Cacao, and this just came from a conversation I had with my friend and chocolate alchemist, Steve Adler. And basically the idea is, again, what we were talking about before on this whole nootropic idea. I studied a lot about how to increase brain potential, because that's one of my favorite things. And as I was studying these kind of synthetic tools that are proven to work, I was like, well, what's the natural thing? What are the foods and herbs that I can use? And just came down a whole list. And that's what this is. So chocolate's the delivery vehicle for some of the most brain and nervous system and heart beneficial herbs. And I'll just kind of go through the list. These are all known to be nootropics, brain enhancers. And basically all that means is two things. They either increase blood flow to our heart and our brain, and or they increase something called nerve growth factor, which is building out the nerves that wrap around our nervous system. So it's protective, really, is all it means. And they were just using lucuma, maca, mesquite, gotu kola, ginkgo biloba, cordyceps, ashwagandha, something called lion's mane mushroom, which is coming out to be an anti-dementia. That's what actually the science is saying. This is the anti-dementia herb. And then also we used ashwagandha and the essential oil of orange. I think essential oils in the right kind of alchemy with chocolate just do something. They're like the spirit of the plant, the oil of the plant. So I thought, you know, we got to bring it all together, all those principles, and that's what this is in the Genius Bar. And
I have tasted it many times already, and it's absolutely delicious. And when Ronnie mentioned the term lion's mane, this is not an animal product. This is just the name that they give it, kind of like horsetail or things like that. These are just names. We're not harming any animals.
It looks like the mane of a lion. It looks like the fur of it. But it definitely, it grows on a tree.
Awesome. And so you also have a book coming out.
I do have a book.
Okay.
The Life Food Peak Performance System.
Nice.
Some people out there that know me know that I released a book 2 years ago called The Live It Lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
And so I basically, what I did, I spent about 5 years up to this point and just went through that whole book, just chopped it up, just refined it, edited it, rewrote so much. Because as we grow,
Mm-hmm.
our ideas grow. And we start to see things from different vantage points, and I realized, you know what, this book is good, but it's not a full representation of what I want to leave behind. So I redoubled my efforts, went back to the drawing board, had more conversations with doctors to really make sure that, hey, can you take a look at this, make sure that we are on point.
Yes.
And I am so proud of this. I can't even tell you what this does to me as a person to be able to release this into the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and he talked about doubling up his efforts, and I told you that we used to live together, and one of the things I would see Ronnie, I would come home, or he would come home, and he was like right on the computer starting to write his book. And his work ethic was very inspiring to me to raise my work ethic. I mean, he's like a machine. He's just like, and he's so focused on his mission, and it was awesome to be around for the time we lived together, and I'm so glad we're friends. And how do people get a hold of you?
They can Facebook, Ronnie Landis. My website is ronnie_landis.com. YouTube, there's tons of videos on YouTube. And yeah, I mean, Facebook's probably the easiest way to get a hold of me. And I just want to say that you have just, the way you've grown, and you know, if I had any part to play, just as, you know, example and little pieces here and there, I'm so grateful, because what you're doing right now with Rock and Juice and how you've grown as a person and all the amazingness that's attracting to you speaks volumes of who you are and what you're trying to give to the world. So I got to give it back to you, Steve.
Sometimes it's really hard to be around him.
Yeah, I know.
Love you, brother.
Love you too.
Awesome. So good. And thanks so much for joining us, everybody. Until the next time, pure energy. Yes.